So Sloane, she's a little over 2.5 now. She has a great little personality that's been out since day one. She's just the most positive, energetic little girl.
She's full of sass. She has a way of lighting up a room and kind of putting a smile on everybody's face.
Her strength is out of this world. It was crazy to me that the smallest person that I know is the strongest person that I know. I had 2 normal pregnancies before, so I wasn't nervous at all. Going into the ultrasound, we were all engaging, and then the room just kind of got silent. I could tell that she had found something, just a numb feeling. There's no other way to describe it. Sloane is diagnosed with congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
In simple terms, for a variety of reasons that we don't completely understand, the diaphragm, which is the muscle between chest and abdomen, does not develop completely, which allow all the viscera in the abdomen to herniate into the chest. It can be from mild, moderate to severe, and it can be lethal. St. Louis Children's Hospital is the only hospital in the region that can provide each and every aspect of care that CDH patient may potentially need.
There's a neonatologist which helps stabilize them in the delivery room, put a breathing tube in, put a tube into their swallowing tube to make sure that air and gas doesn't get into the intestines to make it even worse in terms of swelling into the chest. It also requires the surgeons who actually do the procedure where they actually repair the diaphragm. It really requires a huge swath of professionals to take care of these children, so it's not something that can be done routinely in a smaller community hospital.
I believe there was close to 25 people in the delivery room. They had prepared us that she was going to have to be intubated right away. So that was hard. I knew that there was something that they were having trouble doing something over there because they said they would try to bring her by me if they could. They did for like a split second. Then they shipped her off to the NICU.
Watching them put her on the oscillator and having to stand in the back of a room watching everybody do their job, there's not really a way to describe how hard that is to see your baby just laying there and you can't do anything about it.
She was about 10 days old when she was stable enough to went through repair.
They kept her sedated. She was on 14 different medications, IV medications, and she was considered a minimal stimulation baby. You know, we couldn't just pick her up. She was on the ventilator, hooked up to all the medications. It literally took 4 people to get her out of bed and into my arms. One weekend, her pulmonary hypertension was just too strong for her. Her little body had fought so hard. I remember just looking at Chris and telling him that I felt like she needed ECMO. She fought hard enough. That was just her way of telling us that she needed to rest.
And ECMO technology will take over the function of heart and lung. So a patient's own heart and lung can rest, heal, and recover. In the neonatal age population, because they're small, their organ systems are still maturing and developing, so they are at a very high risk of complications.
Watching just the machine coming through and seeing the blood being pumped in and out of her, it's scary.
I just remember holding her hand, and we would read this book to her called Be Brave, Little One. So I just remember reading that like 30 times that night. She ended up having a stroke while on ECMO, which caused her to have a seizure. So then they hooked her up to an EEG, and that's scary to see too. She has the stickers all over her head, and you know, you just want to be able to pick her up and cuddle her and tell her that everything's going to be okay.
What's he doing? Oh, you shaking your foot?
They did like a weaning trial to see how she could tolerate, how her vital signs responded to being off the ECMO, and she was able to come off at 6 days.
To watch what she went through in her first 3 months of life, and most people will not see that kind of medical attention in their entire lives, is just something that you just sit back in awe of.
She is strong, really.
When they started talking about discharge time frame was when we saw the light at the end of the tunnel. We had a welcome home Sloane sign out in the yard, and that was another day that I'll never forget.
The excitement and just being able to be at home was more than worth every second. Just to watch her come out ahead to where she is now is something it's unbelievable to watch, and I feel very fortunate to be her dad and see that.
We're following up with the CDH clinic every 6 months. Other than that, she just is a normal kid. My one takeaway from St. Louis Children's Hospital would be the level of compassion that they have for the families that they take care of. I felt like I was handing her off to my mom at times. They made me feel that comfortable.
We didn't feel like we had to go anywhere else. We felt so blessed that such an amazing team is right here in St. Louis.
We are on the cutting edge of with research to find better cure and better medication to help these patients.
Children's Discovery Institute was actually formed a little over a decade ago by a partnership between the St. Louis Children's Hospital Foundation, the Children's Hospital, and Washington University. And it was totally targeted for generating philanthropic support for high-risk, high-reward research in pediatrics. So CDI permits us, gives us that flexibility to really develop high-risk programs and develop high-risk research. And once we establish information and knowledge in those particular areas, we can then use that information to go back to the NIH for more conservative funding approaches. The return of investment from CDI dollars is for over the decade has been well over 500%. So it's a great investment in research dollars. So for every dollar that we bring in, eventually it turns into a significant amount of grant support from the NIH and other organizations as well.
Donor funding is extremely important to be able to provide all the support that these families who are going through the most devastating time in their life need to survive this.
I wouldn't change it for anything. It was the best decision that we could have ever made. St. Louis Children's Hospital saved her life.